since we last saw each other. I think the last time we saw each other, I was in my old house, and a lot has happened since then. We bought a new house, and we are in my new kitchen here. And since I'm in my kitchen, I guess you can deduce that we're gonna be cooking today. But in fact, we're not cooking, we're actually baking today. We're gonna be baking a South Florida staple. This is a dish that is known and loved by everyone in South Florida, and it was perfected there. Although it didn't originate from South Florida, I like to say that it was perfected there. That is the pastelito de guayaba y queso. If you don't know what that is, it's basically a turnover stuffed with guava paste and cream cheese. It's a very simple dish, but something happens when you get all these ingredients together and you put it in the oven and bake them. It's like magic. I don't know how to explain it, but it works out perfectly. I don't know who is the person that created this pastry, but whoever it is, they deserve a Nobel Peace Prize because they can solve all of the world's problems with this one dish. I got a quick update, and this is pretty interesting. The origin of pastelitos de guayaba y queso are uncertain, apparently. It's believed to have originated from Cuba, but we don't know for sure. There are a few theories. Could have been from Lebanese immigrants, could have been from slaves, could have been from Cuban households, just making a little nice little treat at the end of the day. So who knows? But it does have a long history in Miami. And like I said, it didn't start there, but it was perfected there. The recipe was perfected there. And that's what I like to say. If you don't agree with me, take it up with the judge. All right, that's my opinion. I'm sticking with it. As with anything, when you start cooking, the first thing you should do is pour yourself a nice glass of wine. And the last thing you do is also pour yourself a nice glass of wine. That is my rule. So today we're gonna be drinking a Barbera d'Asti. This is a red wine from Italy. And it's probably my favorite household wines. Like, this is like an everyday wine. It goes good with anything. Pairs well with anything. It tastes amazing. It's not like too dry. It's not too sweet. This is the best all-around wine you can get. The brand really doesn't matter. As long as it's Barbera d'Asti, in my opinion, the rest can go fuck itself. So we're gonna be drinking this today. All right, guys, to start, we're gonna be making our own puff pastry. All right, you can find those puff pastries that you can find in the store, those Pillsbury Doughboy ones, but they're not good. If you want it to come out immaculate, you have to make it from scratch. And that is what we're doing today. So it's very simple. All you need is a handful of ingredients and you're good to go. We're gonna start off with 320 grams of all-purpose flour. The brand really doesn't matter. I'm not getting paid by this company, so I don't wanna give them a shout out. It doesn't matter. 320 grams of all-purpose flour, all right? That goes in to our mixing bowl here. I put a little bit too much here. Let me put a little bit off. Remember, 320 grams. 320 grams on the fucking dot. Next up, we're gonna be adding 7 grams of fine sea salt. Beautiful. Now we're gonna be mixing it in with our whisk. If I can find my whisk, and I found it, bye-bye. Give it a quick mix. And then we're gonna be adding cold water, or 177 grams of cold water to here. Next thing is that we're gonna be adding 3/4 of a cup of cold water into our mixture. We're gonna be streaming this in slowly, making sure that we get this mixed in there well. All right. Sometimes you have to kind of cut back on the water, mix it, and then add it as you go. You want it to be kind of a consistency similar to like gum, like dry gum. You know those big bubble gum ones. That's what. Okay, I'm just adding just a touch more water, and then we should be good with what we're trying to aim for here. All right. At this point, you can. I've been using a fork, but at some point you're gonna have to get in here and get dirty. You know what I mean? That's usually how it goes here with baking. You want to kind of not knead it, but incorporate those last bits that are kind of stuck to the bottom of the mixing bowl here, and that's what we're trying to do here. So get in there, put your knuckles in there, fold it, press down, And let me put this over here. By the way, this is my kitchen. I live here. So if you see dirty dishes in the background or whatever, you know, just know that this is an active kitchen, all right? Every day I work from home most of the week. I come here, make my coffee, make my breakfast, and that's what I do, all right? So this should be, so it's like kind of not too sticky. By the way, you should wash your hands before you make this. There's a little bit too, I've added a little bit too much water, not a big deal. I'm gonna add a little bit more flour to offset that extra bit of water I put in there, and that should, again, incorporate that. Oh yeah, it's coming together nicely. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. There we go, here we go. We got puff pastry, baby. At least the base of it. We still need to incorporate the butter, and that's what we're gonna do next, all right? So, this is what we're looking for. So this is the consistency that we're going for, all right? It's a malleable, soft, not too malleable, but not too soft either. I don't know how to explain it. It almost feels like gum. This is the consistency I can think of. And we're gonna put this up, wrap this up in parchment paper, put it in the fridge and let it rest. And then in the meantime, I'm gonna prepare our butter, which needs to be incorporated into this. So we got our flour resting in the kitchen, and while that's resting, I'm gonna prepare our butter. So it's very similar to making, I don't know if anyone has made croissants. The process is very similar, but there are a couple of different steps when it comes to the actual folding of the pastry itself. So we have here 2 sticks of butter, which equals to about 227 grams. That's how much you need. We're gonna be incorporating these 2 blocks into one 4-inch by 4-inch square. I got my little mallet here, and there's a couple of things that people, you see this stuff online when you look up the recipe, you're gonna find a bunch of information about the type of butter you should use. You're gonna see that American butter tends to have a little bit more water than the European counterpart. And essentially what happens is when you bake all the ingredients together, all that water, that excess water, will come out and just ruin everything. So when you grab butter, make sure you grab the European version. This one's from like Ireland or some shit like that. I don't know where it's from, but it's not American, that's what I know. You can also use Central American butter too. And then, this is very simple. Just roll it out. Okay. So what we're doing here is very simple. We're cutting these butter sticks into manageable pieces, and we're just gonna make a 4-inch by 4-inch square out of them. All right, that's our goal here. What makes it easier is if you take the butter out and you let it rest, it'll kind of warm up on its own. It'll make it much easier to make this happen. You know, I've tried it several times where it doesn't work out and the final product is not ideal for puff pastry, right? So I got my little baking mat here. I got my little scraper and parchment paper. Put everything together. This actually has this baking mat that I have here actually has a little ruler on the side, so I can use it to kind of gauge the size of the square that I need. Okay. Again, we're going for a 4 by 4 inch. I'm gonna use my roller here to kind of flatten that out a bit more. Go, beautiful, look at that. Beautiful square there. There we go. So, I'm gonna use the same parchment paper, and I'm gonna also let this rest. About 30 minutes, and then I'm gonna use my scraper. Of course, this freaking mat won't stay put. I'm gonna use my scraper here, and voila, there we go. So this will go straight to the fridge to cool off for a minute. And then after that's cooled, we're gonna incorporate everything. I forgot to mention, and this is why I make a horrible chef, a horrible baker, I forgot to mention the cook time, all right? Because there's a bit of prep involved, and that might take you might have to take that into account. Initially, we're gonna be rolling that dough and that butter together to make the puff pastry base. We're gonna be rolling it and then folding it 4 to 6 times, putting it in the fridge, let it rest for 30 minutes, take it out, roll it another 4 to 6 times, let it rest again for 30 minutes, take it out, and then roll it again for the last 3rd time, and then letting it rest, and then only then will it be ready to be used for stuffing, all right? And then baking. So I forgot to mention, yeah, you need about an hour and a half of lead time to prep this. I should have started the video with this, but again, I'm not a chef, so I don't know why in the hell you're watching this and you're watching me to learn how to bake. So that's what's up. So I got my dough out here. I let it rest for about 30 minutes, and I got my butter here, and it is time to incorporate these 2 things together. All right. I forgot to mention also that this dough should be rolled out into a 6" by 6" square. It doesn't have to be perfect, but what we're aiming for here is a nice little diamond shape. And our butter should be a 4" by 4" square, right? And what we're gonna do is kind of put that together like that. I'm gonna save this for later. And then we're gonna just pinch carefully our dough into our little packet here. Now we have our little thing engulfed like this, and now we're going to be rolling this out into a it should be like kind of like a rectangle. That's what we're kind of aiming for here. So we got a little roller out. Simple, simple, simple. So I got this rolled out. I want you to look at carefully on how I roll this, how I fold this, rather. We're gonna be taking one end and kind of doing a half fold, like so, right? I'm gonna add a little bit more flour so it doesn't stick. And then the other end, we're gonna fold it over, right? Like that. Boom. Beautiful, like that, see? And then a little bit more flour. And then what we're gonna do is roll it out on the cross section. So we're gonna take our whole dough, boom, like that, right? Then we're gonna roll this out into itself. That's what we're trying to do here. And it should be approximately about 10 inches long and about 6 to 8 inches wide, right? We can yield about 8 to 10 pastries this way with this measurement. And then we're gonna repeat this process about 2 more times, and then we're gonna put it back in the fridge and let it rest. All right, here we go, look at that. Beautiful, 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 beautiful. Each fold incorporates more and more butter into that dough, all right? When you make croissants can be rolled 30 times. Right? But we don't want that many layers. The more you roll it into itself, the more layers you're gonna have when you get that. When you bake it, it's gonna create more and more layers, right? I don't want that many layers. I want it to be crunchy when you bite into it. I don't want it to be too soft where it feels like almost like bread or a croissant type of bread. So I want it to be enough layered so that's still crunchy when you bite into it, but still have that bread-like quality to it, right? This is our second fold. We're gonna take our dough, remember, roll it in halfway one side and onto itself on the other side. And then it's always the cross section. And we're gonna roll this out and then do another fold and then put it back in the fridge, all right? More flour to prevent it from sticking. Here we go. Look at that. And I'm telling you, this is probably one of the easiest things to bake. This is probably the only thing I know how to bake from scratch, all right? If you tell me how to bake, if you tell me to bake anything else, I'm gonna look at you crazy. It's very simple. If I can do it, anyone can do it, really. And I don't know if you heard that pop, but I got air bubbles in this motherfucker. Jesus Christ. All right. And this is gonna be our last fold, and back to the fridge to let it rest. Okay, remember half, and then you can actually do it this way too, half. So this is pretty much done here for our first fold. We're gonna put this back into the fridge and let it rest for about 30 minutes, all right? Then we're gonna fold it again for our second fold. Here we go. All right, so it's been more than 30 minutes since we last took out this pastry puff, rolled it, and folded it. So we're gonna do it again. We're gonna take it out, roll it, and then fold it 3 times, and then back to the fridge. And that's our second time we do this. So we just have one more time that we're gonna do this, and then the pastry puff should be ready for stuffing, egg washing, and straight to the oven, all right? So that's what we're gonna do next. All right, so one last fold here, and then we're gonna be putting this in the fridge and letting this cool off. So it is starting to look more and more like puff pastry dough. You know, the more you fold it, like I said earlier, the more layers you get when I bake this. And the reason why we're sticking to about 9 to 10 folds is because if I fold it anymore, when I bake this, is going to be more of a consistency similar to that of a croissant, and that's not what we want for our pastelitos de Guayaba y Queso. It's a little bit different consistency, and this is our last fold. So there you go. Look at this dough is coming out very nice. I'm gonna put this back in that parchment paper and put it back in the fridge and wait another 30 minutes. Take it out, fold it again, and then it'll be ready for our purpose. All right. So it's been approximately 30 minutes since I last put this dough in here. We're gonna take it out and give it its last folds, and then we're gonna start preparing the guava paste and the cream cheese and creating our little triangles. Then we're gonna do our little egg wash. To the oven it goes, and then we're also gonna make a syrup, which we're gonna use to coat the exterior of the pastelito. So that's what we're gonna do. Right, same process as before. You're gonna take it out, roll it out 3 times, and it'll be ready to go. More dough so it doesn't stick. Now this dough is starting to look like what it's supposed to look like. It's supposed to look uniform without any unevenness to it. It's supposed to be kind of an off-white type color, and that's what we're aiming for, and that's what we got here. So this is a good consistency. I like to when you first pull this thing out of the fridge, it's a little rigid. I like to push it down first, and then it makes it easier for me to roll it out, right? That's one there. And then do our fold. Move this paper out of the way so it doesn't look ugly. Fold halfway. And then again, longitudinal, I don't know if that's a word. That's one, here's two, right? Same process. You need a little bit of elbow grease to do this. Yep. Oh. So if it sticks like this, you see it sticking, you can just add more dough, more flour to it, and it will prevent that from happening. You can also add a little bit of flour to the roller itself. No, pause, and it'll work. It should work. All right, that should be good enough. We're gonna do another fold here. A little bit more. And then this is our last fold, and we'll be ready to go. So that's what we're gonna do next. Press it down like so, and then kind of just gently roll it out. So I'm gonna put this back in the fridge, let it rest, and in the meantime, I'm gonna prepare our guava paste, our baking racks, and the egg wash. And then by the time I'm done with that, this should be ready to go. All right. Add a little bit more flour to this thing. A lot of people ask me, like, how did you get into this? Why did you start this? Well, it's hard to find this here. I mean, you know, you can go to any French bakery and they have some form of a pastelito that's filled with something, but it's not the same. I don't know how to explain it. It's not like home. So I've been trying my hardest ever since then, ever since moving here, to find something that's as much as possible to the Miami style version of this. And I said the only way I can find it is if I make it myself. And that's what I did. And that's why I started doing this. And since then, I've done it over a dozen times. I've made them for other people. And everyone loves it. So, easy. It's easy to make. Very minimal. And this is the final product here. It's a nice, malleable puff pastry dough. You can see the color here. It's kind of like a yellow off-white type color. And this is ready to go. This is the product we need. So when we put this back in the fridge, it's gonna firm up. And then when we take it out, we can flatten it as much as possible. And it should yield about 8 to 12, depending on how we cut it, pastelitos de guayaba y queso. All right, so once you dice everything up, this is what it should look like. Very easy, manageable chunks that you can kind of stack on each other. So when you put it in the pastry dough, it comes out uniform when you bake it, all right? I'm gonna set this off to the side for now, and I'm actually gonna wash these, the pizza cutter, because I just got another idea. I'm gonna use this to cut the actual pastry dough and get the rest of the stuff ready. I'm gonna prepare the egg wash and get everything ready. That's what we're gonna do next. So I have my puff pastry here, flattened out. You'd be surprised how much I can yield from this piece here. We're gonna cut square shapes, and then we're gonna create kind of a triangle shape from these shapes, all right? I normally use a scraper for this, and I use it to kind of cut the shapes. This is the first time I use a pizza cutter, and I just wanna see how this is gonna work. All right, here we go. I'm just gonna cut it straight down the middle, and then we're just gonna divide it from there. And I'm just lightly cutting it. I don't wanna be cutting into my actual, you know, countertop here. So once everything is set, we have our ingredients here, we have our stage here where we're gonna assemble everything, and then we have our sheets here where we're gonna be putting our final product. From here, it will go to the oven right there, beautiful. So let's start. All right guys, I'm just gonna show you how I make one of these, because if I stick around and I show you how I do all of them, I'm not only just gonna run out of memory on my memory card, my camera might get fried. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm actually gonna do a couple shots, get close up, and you can see exactly what it is I'm doing. I'm gonna take one piece. I already got a little bit of flour here so it doesn't stick, and I'm gonna roll it out. A little bit of extra flour on the top. And we're just gonna flatten this out and create a manageable, workable space to then fill it up with our fillings. All right, gonna take a little piece of cream cheese. Again, with the actual filling, and I just had a brain fart there, you don't want to go too overboard, because what happens is if you put too much, the insides will actually burst out when you bake them, right? So you got to be kind of mindful of how much you're actually using. And I'm just folding it over very lightly, folding it over. And this is fine for now. I'm actually going to use the pizza cutter and kind of press the ends together to create a little seal. Now for this part, you can actually use anything. Anything with a nice little edge on it will do. You can use a knife, a fork, whatever you like. For here though, I'm gonna use this. This is the first time I actually use this. I usually use my scraper to kind of seal this end here. Or you can just use your fingers. So we're just gonna create a little slot here. We're just gonna create a little exhaust hole here. Just a nice little cut. So I transferred my pastelito. I already have an egg wash on it. I created my little exhaust cut on the top. This will prevent the insides from leaking out from the sides, right? If it does leak, it'll leak from here, and that'll be totally fine, right? So what I'm gonna do next is coat the exterior of this pastelito with some brown sugar. All right, you can be as generous as you want here. The more the better, I say. I'm also gonna use the same sugar to create a syrup, which I'm gonna coat it with when this comes out of the oven. All right, now I'm just gonna repeat this process about 3, 6, about 8 more times or 9 more times, and then we'll be good to go. So we have our pastelitos laid out on a baking sheet. I had to use aluminum foil. I ran out of parchment paper, but that's totally fine. We're gonna put them in the oven, which I preheated to 350 degrees. We're gonna leave them there for about 25 minutes to 30 minutes. We're looking for a golden brown consistency with the pastelitos. Halfway through, we're gonna create our syrup, which is just brown sugar in a pan with a bit of water. We're gonna reduce it down until it's kind of a syrupy type of consistency. And then we're gonna put that off to the side, let it cool. Once these pastelitos are finished, we're gonna put them on a cooling rack. And as they're cooling, we're gonna coat them with that syrup. We're gonna let it cool down further, and then they'll be ready to eat. Very simple. They look ugly right now, but trust me, like the swan, once they are ready, they will be beautiful, golden brown pastries. It's gonna be amazing. This is where the magic happens. So we've reached our halfway point to the baking. We're gonna start up our syrup. All right, medium-high heat. And again, this is just a bit of brown sugar and a bit of water. We're gonna reduce this down until it forms kind of a syrupy type of consistency. Let me get my little rubber spatula here on the side, excuse me. And we're just gonna stir this around until it reduces down, and once it starts to cling, once it starts to look like a syrup, we know we're kind of done, all right? Very simple. We'll reduce it down a little bit to kind of like simmer. And that's it, man. Very easy. Very easy. If I can do it, you know, that means a troglodyte can do it. And I like to use the word troglodyte because that means that you're even more rudimentary than a caveman. So if I can do it, a troglodyte can do it. And if a troglodyte can do it, that means you can do it. All right, so our syrup is starting to take form. You see at the bottom when I move my spatula, it kind of doesn't stick when I move it. This is exactly what we're looking for. It is sticking to the spatula here. So that means that this is ready. I'm gonna turn off the flame and then let it cool off. And when it cools off, it'll be a nice little sticky consistency. You see that? You see, like when I move it, it's not sticking to the bottom of this pan. That's what we're looking for. So we're gonna let this cool and then check on our pastelitos, because I think they might be done. If they're done, that's it, we can move on to the next thing. We are at the final stretches of our pastry endeavor here. All right, I got my syrup here. I have the pastelitos already on the cooling rack. And now what we're gonna do is just drizzle each one with a little bit of this beautiful syrup, which I made again from a little bit of brown sugar reduced in some water. Just need a little bit for each one. And the reason why you want to put these on a cooling rack right away, because if you leave it on that baking pan there, it's going to continue cooking. So the bottom will get burned, and then the top, it will be inconsistent, right? You know what I mean? So you want to put it on a cooling rack as soon as possible. Kind of made a makeshift catch pan underneath to let this runoff syrup kind of sit at the bottom. And that's it. So we're gonna let this cool off. I'm gonna make some café con leche, and here we go. That's what it is. This in Miami is a staple. I mean, you cannot go there and not have pastelitos, not have, you know, croqueticas, café con leche, tostadas. You have to have, these are staples there, man. There we go, beautiful. Be very generous with this syrup. There's a lot of it. There's a lot of it, all right? There's a lot of it. Make sure you give it all of it. There you go. Look at that. Qué bonito. So here comes the moment of truth. This is the final product, and I'm excited. Bro. Man, I gotta be honest, and I say this every time I make this, this is like 100 times better than any Cuban bakery in Miami. I actually feel like this is better than anything down there. This with some café con leche, nothing else like it. Bro, I'm gonna have to do some cardio today, burn this shit off. Very easy to make, amazing results. No reason why you shouldn't be doing this. I know. There's no reason why you shouldn't try making this. That's it, man. That's it. I'm done here. I'm gonna go do some cardio on my assault bike. But I have more. There's like a big batch here I have to finish up. Cut.